great guest today. Kicking things off with a quick rundown. So, pod updates at the top. Really quick, we're going to scratch pod updates. We really don't have a lot. And then there's a couple of segments you might see. The Blunder Report is also not on the rundown. There just wasn't another Blunder Report. So we're going to make that a Blunder Alert. We'll have pod updates in the future if they're relevant, but we're going to streamline these and not have them as permanent segments. But we've got the week in review. We'll go over our results, our leaderboard predictions, our prediction leaderboard. We will touch on clowns and crowns, and then we will go into Fraud Watch. From there, we'll introduce our guest, and we will go over how their season is going, what their team looks like, how they got there. Big shakeup today in the league. I think we had 3 trades today, 5 this week. Big changes. Jimmy's episode made a big deal. And then furthermore, we will get into the week ahead where we take a look at some Halloween-themed power rankings and some predictions for next week. So without any further ado, let's kick things off with this week's results. All right, so our first matchup that was decided for the week, we've got Jimmy and Evan. A quick one here as Jimmy embraces his bipocalypse and James Cook explodes in the early game window. Jimmy also had a couple of Cowboys that put up an uncharacteristic performance so far, but Glenn takes the win, heads to 6-1, and 7-1, and Jimmy goes down to 5-3. Moving on, we've got Nick versus Jesse. Jesse returns with another poop Oreo, but a little bit more support this time and a little bit more cookie. Justin Herbert and Tucker Kraft go off. I don't know how many. I think it was almost 50 points, if not over 50 points. Got a little bit of help from Henry and Kittle, too, paying off some of that draft stock. Whereas Nick, a little bit of another rough week. Another Caleb Williams stinger, and not much there to make it up. All right, moving to our third matchup. We've got a classic, the Duffy Bowl. We had a good matchup. However, Brendan goes the second straight week of having a season-ending injury for one of his key starters, Cam Scatterboog. And meanwhile, on the other side, Jalen Hurts goes for 4 touchdowns in the air and leads Ned to a victory. Our next matchup, we had Bill versus Ryan. Bill looking to continue his recovery after an 0-5 start. Ryan looking to stay ahead after dealing with some injuries early in the season. But Bill, with the Nix-Franklin combination, they go for almost 45 points, and he takes the W in week 8. Ryan, again, with some poor performances without JSN in his wide receiver room. Our next matchup, another thriller. We had 2 Monday night thrillers. Our first one is Jack, myself versus Ty. I went in down 20.6 points on Monday Night Football with Terry McLaurin and Rashee Rice playing. They both come through with touchdowns. And I take the W, cementing myself as QB1 for at least this year. And then our final matchup, the surprise matchup of the week. We had 5-2 Steve going against 1-6 Evan, and Evan comes away with the lead. Breece Hall and Drake May go blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes and Jonathan Taylor. And Evan's team comes out with some other key performances. Kayshon Boutte, I think, was involved. Maybe some other people. But those were our results. We've got 1-7 and 1 team sitting at the top, and then a pretty close league the rest of the way. Let's move on to our predictions leaderboard. All right, so we've got Bill in the mix now. Bill goes 3 for 6 on his matchup predictions and just 1 for 6 on his anytime touchdown parlay. A.J. Brown obviously did not play. He wanted Sutton as a replacement. I think Sutton had a touchdown called back, but he couldn't find the end zone. So Bill sitting maybe toward the lower end of the leaderboard. And then our other update, Glenn, he did give us that parlay, had a little bit more luck, got 3 out of 5. However, he had Drake London in there, and we did not get a replacement. So Glenn, this is your official, I almost don't want to do this, but I'm going to give you an official chance to send over 1 touchdown. It's going to add to your list. Can't be a player you obviously took last week. All right, that's our prediction leaderboard. Now we're going to move on to clowns and crowns. So we've got our top scoring team of the week, Evan Gladney. Oh, shouldn't say last names. Evan comes in the top scorer for the week, led by a massive Drake May performance. He gets the top QB score of the week as well. Sticking with our top scorers, Steve with another 3 touchdown game out of Jonathan Taylor comes away with the crown for our running backs. Bill puts together a solid performance with Ladd McConkey, DK Metcalf, and Troy Franklin, and comes away with our wide receiver crown. And Jesse with Tucker Kraft, and George Kittle comes away with the Tex tight end and flex crown. On the clown side, we've got Jimmy. Again, he was taking the Bipocalypse, maximized. I think he had three starters, three-ish starters on bye for the week. He comes away with our lowest point total. Ryan, however, with a surprise dud from Baker Mayfield, gets our QB clown of the week. Over on the running back side, Jimmy makes another appearance. Got to get to that team score somehow. He has the lowest scoring wide receiver room. Running back room. Jesse pops over with the lowest scoring wide receiver room. That's kind of what I meant by that poop Oreo. And then Jimmy makes another appearance on this week's Clowns with the lowest scoring tight end and flex. So those are our crowns and clowns for week 8. Next we have Fraud Watch. So a little bit of a change here on the setup. Delta, I'm not a math man. I'm not Jimmy. I don't know what I'm trying to do there. So instead, I've just put your head-to-head record, your median scoring record, and then what that would look like combined. A couple of callouts. You can see Bill is a major shift in the standings, going up to a 10-6 combined record. That would put him actually with points at 4th. And then we've got a couple of fallers as well. Does this mean much? I think it's a way to normalize against schedule. Could be something useful that we look into. Just sort of a little fun experiment to look at for now. But this is what our Fraud Watch standings look like in week 8. All right, that concludes our week in review. Please give a warm round of applause from your living rooms. Put those phones down for our guest of the week, Mr. Dan. I'm going to call you Dan. I'm going to tell a personal story before I let you talk. I was walking this week, and I knew you were our guest, and I said, what am I going to call Dan? I've been calling him Ned for a long time, but something about this forum, maybe it's our age, I just said, I got to retire it. So I am personally going to retire Ned and bring back Dan. So, Dan, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Let's get it going.
All right. He's eager. He's ready to go. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you been watching the pod?
I've seen probably...
Okay. We'll take a couple. They got long. Yeah, they got a little long.
1-0.
All right.
Greater than 0.
Perfect. Perfect.
Like 2 or 3.
We'll take it. All right. So I don't think you can see it, but we've got some league history here. I've got your overall record. You are obviously one of our more notorious league members, just in terms of your league lore. You have not won a championship yet, obviously. However, I believe that you are lead, or at least a leader in playoff appearances. And looking at your chart, again, just a disclaimer, this isn't exactly where everybody finished, but it's a pretty close estimate. You're not going to go above playoffs or out of playoffs based on this. You have made the playoffs every year, basically since the first 2 years, years 2 and 3, that you didn't. It's just been a constant line. You have very little dips in there. So let's break it down. Would you take last 2 years in a row if you knew in that third year you get a championship? I'm not going to tell you that if you say no, you just get 0. You go back to 0. Those 2 years you can win, but you just don't know. But you're guaranteed that championship if you take 2 lasts. What are you going to do? Are you going to roll the dice, or are you going to lock in that ring?
Are the punishments back?
We'll suspend punishments for now.
If we suspended punishments, then yes, definitely. I'd say it's been a little bit of a disappointment to be consistently in the running, but never really at the top in terms of results at the end of the year. I think consistently making the playoffs is good. It's been an interesting ride, but it's never really paid off, whether it be injuries or just not really having the full team in order to actually get over that hump.
Absolutely. So we'll go over to your roster. Now, I had to make some edits to our overlays today, but my initial observation was going to be that you shockingly had no players acquired through trade. You were all acquisitions and all drafts. Obviously, that has changed today. Some big moves. But I'm going to shift my question a little bit. Kind of relates back to your finishing positions. You finished 3rd and 4th, allegedly, the last 4 years. Do you find that because you're consistently finishing strongly, that it is harder to make trades with people? So I guess to refine my question, do you think that perception of the manager impacts the trade? And where maybe do you rank that?
Yeah, I don't think Ty will ever make a trade with me again. from like 5 or 6 years ago. I doubt that me and Ty will ever be able to make a trade without him thinking that I'm trying to get one over on him. I think that a lot of my offers, I think there's a perception from people that don't get the offers that there's a lot of things going on where I'm offering a lot of crap. But if you were to speak, I think to those that get the offers, they're either there or on the cusp. So me and Jesse were finally able to work out a trade today. I've been trying to trade for Derrick Henry for probably 3 to 4 weeks. So that's been consistently being offered. Brian Thomas Jr., even without Derrick Henry, I've been trying to get him since probably week 4. So a lot of those, the foundation was built early on. I think the perception of me for trading is a little bit misguided. It might go back to some times where I didn't think some people were actually paying attention to fantasy, and I did try to take advantage of some folks, but I think now everyone's a little bit more in tune with what's actually going on, watching all the games and keeping up. So it's a lot harder to pull one off, and I think now, in this day and age, if we were to try to pull one off on somebody, that they would immediately shut you down and probably stop with a counter offer. So I think I've refined my approach, and I would say that I think my offers out there have been pretty close. Me and Evan didn't make a trade, but we were in talk. We have a joke. We literally discussed trades every day for like 3 weeks and just didn't get one done. But we were on the verge every time.
I love it. So yeah, big trade today. I'll throw my 2 cents. I think it's a good trade. I think there's plenty of uncertainty and then plenty of upside to be exchanged there. Going over back to your roster, I just want to ask you kind of a quick question. Now, again, you are someone who perennially kind of has a good team. I made a joke that after the first podcast that your team was just the most random team you've ever seen consistently score 85, and we'll kind of put that as a good score for our league. Looking at this year's draft, you are consistently a best available, not too much prep. You're kind of going to play the board, see what people are doing. Did you go into this draft this year with the same attitude, or did you kind of think that you wanted to maybe stick to some early calls? You obviously have made some good judgment calls in the past. Kareem Hunt, I think in an early round when he was a rookie. But what was your approach this year to the draft?
JR1.
Oh, that's right. How could I forget? Yes. Yeah, you're quite notorious with finding. So for someone who claims to do so little research and preparation, you are often very prepared. So how do you do it?
I can tell you Google is your friend. What I do every draft is not look at it beforehand for the most part. I didn't do a single mock draft, anything like that. But day of the draft or day before the draft, I just look at what the final depth chart looks like. And then I look and I say, hey, is there like a 28, 29-year-old running back here that last year, Zach Moss, running back 1 on the Bengals, running back 1. I look at that, I'm like, why would Zach Moss be there already? Chase Brown is likely going to take over that backfield. You get him in like the 8th or 9th round. Boom, there's your RB2 for the rest of the year. So I would look at where there's those older folks in place that you don't necessarily trust. I was scared a little bit this year with Kamara and Miller in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Kamara hasn't really paid off, but now that Miller's hurt, that's kind of helping me out a little bit. I would say that this is a very un-me team. So I don't normally take people like Genty in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I got off of that this week. I usually stay away from rookie running backs that I don't necessarily know at all, especially when they're on the Raiders. That was a terrible choice by me. Nico Collins, again, I probably should have gone with Puka. The injury stuff scared me off with him. And then Stafford with the back kind of scared me. I was like, oh, Nico Collins, he was crazy last year. All big plays, big plays, big plays. No line, can't throw the ball down the field. Hasn't really worked out yet.
Yeah.
So it's a weird. This is not my typical roster. I try to stay with 1 or 2 home run hitters, and then I like guys that get me yards. I think that yards are hard to come by. If you are touchdown dependent, you're kind of screwed year over year. That's why I have JCM now on my team. He has 1 week with like 26 points, the rest with like 3 to 7. Like he's like, man, I didn't really want him. Jesse insisted on it. I gave. So that's why he's there.
All right. Yeah, I definitely. I'll speak a little bit about my strategy. I kind of wanted to go in. Obviously, I took a lot of later round running backs, which was an option going into it. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. But you were the person that I was worried about sniping me the most. I was just like, I know he's sitting on his phone and he's going to be taking every running back that I thought of. But very interesting take. Sounds like, to put a cap on it, you kind of try to look at the most recent data set, and you're not necessarily bogging your mind down with all the summer news and early training camp stuff. Yeah. So, all right, interesting takeaway. Thank you for talking a little bit more, giving some insights as to your process. Always an interesting.
On that note, I did call out Trayvon Henderson in the draft being like one of the worst picks. Sorry, Ryan. In the third round, I was like, that is summer news. That is Patriots 101. You're a Patriots fan too. You cannot be falling for their training camp.
We might have some more Patriot fan talk later in the pod. I definitely remember that comment. So that was a good call on your end because there was quite a bit of hype. All right, with that, we are going to jump into our next segment. A little bit of a switch on our typical segment, Scary or Scared. We are going to change this to Trick or Treat. And it is Halloween tomorrow. And I happened to find something fairly interesting. I found a pumpkin. But I think that there is something special or maybe magic about this pumpkin, because when I look inside of it, it's saying things to me. It's saying things from the future as if they had already happened. But here's the thing. A couple of things seem really contradictory. They almost seem like both things can't happen. So I'm starting to think that there might be some less benevolent spirits sending me lies through my magic pumpkin. And what I need your help with today is I'm going to go through and read a couple statements about the league, about the future next couple weeks, some from 9 to 17, and you're going to help me determine whether or not this is a treat from the future or this is a trick by an evil spirit who's lying. All right, you ready to go? You understand?
Let's do it.
All right, perfect. So the first one that I'm seeing looks like it's about Glenn's team. It says that Jackson Dart will average 19 points per game from weeks 9 through 17.
Free, but caveat it with you're going to get that variability where you're going to have those 27s and 9s.
Okay.
I am not big on the Giants' offensive consistency future with all the injuries they've had.
That's fair. All right, so we are saying, but overall, you think he will average. So treat.
He will average it. His median score will not be 19.
Okay. You might have to give me a math lesson on how to understand that. All right, let's look again. It looks like another message is coming through. Oh, this one's about me. It says that Saquon Barkley will be a top 3 running backs in points per game from rest of season on.
Trick. Nope. He doesn't look like last year, I can say that. He looks hurt, and he looks slow, and he doesn't look decisive, and that line may not be giving him those holes that he was getting last year. I don't see it for the rest of the year.
Top 3 is a tall order, so I can
top 10 to 15 easily.
Okay.
Top 3, I don't think so.
Top 3, I will say, Jahmyr Gibbs looks a little different. I will say with that. Just watching on TV.
Jimmy, he looks terrible. I would trade him if I were you.
All right, our next one's coming in. It looks like maybe these are coming in a standings order. This one looks like it's about tie. It says Javonte Williams will finish top 2 in rushing touchdowns in 2025. He is currently 3rd.
He's 3rd right now. That's tough. I'm going to go with Trick, because they're going to be losing too many games, and Dak's going to have to throw him in.
We've got a trick.
And that's the only reason why. I was wrong about him. I messed that one up in the draft. Good pick, Ty. He looked a lot better and a lot fresher than he did in Denver last year.
All right, so we've got a trick. Javonte Williams will not finish top 2 in rushing touchdowns. All right, our next one's coming through. Steve here. It says Travis Hunter outscores Brian Thomas Jr. as the Jags' top fantasy scoring wide receiver rest of season.
Trick. He's a one-trick pony.
Trick. All right, you're
not. Has anyone seen him actually run a route? That's a go route that works for a screen. Like, has anyone seen him do anything that's like anything near like what a wide receiver would have to do in the NFL?
He's a hybrid. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think he had that one breakout game maybe before the bye, and now he's got the bye week, so we'll see.
He caught one pass for like 40 yards over somebody's head. How many times are you gonna repeat that?
That's fair. Hope maybe a lot, but maybe not. All right, so we've got a trick. Travis Hunter will not outscore Brian Thomas Jr. in fantasy points for wide
And I'm
receivers.
biased too.
I did make. I mean, the pumpkin may have told me that question prior to the trade. All right, so moving toward Jimmy. This one says, Devonta Adams and Rome Odunze will finish as top 15 wide receivers in total fantasy points in 2025.
Trick, but Devonta Adams will.
Okay. All right. I believe they both are right now. But you're saying Adams will, Odunze not. So this is a trick.
I don't like. As a Drake Maith, I am a Caleb truther. I do not like him. That I don't know. There's something about watching him play where it just looks like everything is backyard football. He's not really good at hitting those normal routes. I think Odunze is better at those kind of things. The consistency, I don't think is going to be there.
All right. Very fair. Yeah, Caleb Williams definitely an interesting quarterback development right now. All right. Looks like another one. We'll have to see. This one looks like these spirits do have the trade info. So this one is about you. It says that Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, and Brian Thomas Jr. will post top 24 total fantasy wide receiver points rest of season.
So for those looking to trade free, but I would say trick. Brian Thomas, I think he's a wild card. I'm hoping that it pays off where his production comes back to where it was. Zay Flowers. Lamar's back now, finally, thank God. He needs to get in the end zone every once in a while. And Olave is literally a touchdown away in like 2 or 3 games from being a top 10 receiver. In terms of yardage, production, targets. I'm hoping that he gets there, but now they have that backup, the rookie Show or whatever his name is.
Shuck, which is not how that's spelled either.
They don't pronounce his name right.
No. So
a little bit worried about that one, but we'll have to see.
All right. So
but overall trick.
Our overall trick. It was a tall order. That's quite the future tense prediction. All right. Next one up is Bill. It says here that DK Metcalf, who is currently wide receiver 10 in total points, will finish the 2025 season as a top 15 wide receiver in total fantasy points.
This is the prediction now on if he's going to score enough or not, because he's only getting like 6 throws a game. He scared the crap out of me when I played Bill. Bill ended up winning. First target was for like 34 yards. They didn't get thrown out for like 2 quarters. So they're going after their tight ends. They're going after their running backs in the passing game. I'm going to go with Trick because I don't think the volume's there, and I think he's too touchdown dependent.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what the Steelers do with the trade deadline. I know they're looking, they added MVS maybe to take the top off, maybe to try to open some things up, maybe some more running lanes, some more yak yards for DK, but definitely will be interesting to see if he holds on. All right, our next one is for Jesse. Looks like it says Tucker Kraft finishes as the tight end 1 in 2025. Trick or treat?
Treat. He looks every bit the tight end 1. The only reason why I would say trick is because I like Ty's tight end. Well, one of the tight ends. I don't know if Ty's trick. I love Warren out of Indy. I think that he could obviously finish as the tight end 1. But if you watch the Packers, whenever they get inside the 20-yard line, even outside the 20-yard line, we get those 70-yard catches. But inside the 20-yard line, they look for him consistently. And I think that as a tight end, is like.
Yeah. I'd also throw in there that all of the Green Bay Packers wide receivers are bad. They're just bad, and that's why they don't have a number 1. Everyone says like, oh, they're all so good. No, they're actually all so bad. I think that's why Tucker Kraft can finish as the tight end 1.
They're like the Patriots version, but like a little bit better in terms of just having a bunch of.
Yeah, I agree.
They're better than the Patriots. I'm not saying the Patriots have good receiving core. Don't.
Matthew Golden. Oh God. All right, our next one looks like it's coming in from Brendan. Hopefully something positive here. Ooh, this says that Stephon Diggs outscores Kayshon Boutte rest of season in total fantasy points. Trick or treat?
Treat. He is May's guy. Boutte's going to take the top off, but I think that more and more teams now are going to get used to that. He's not a high volume guy. He's pretty much over the top. I'm going to catch the touchdown or I'm not. Diggs, he looked every bit the wide receiver 1.5 that the Patriots haven't had.
I agree. Alrighty, our next got a couple more here. Looks like maybe just a few more. This thing's running out of juice. Looks like Nick, he's got this one's actually coming from Nick's bench. It looks like it says Brock Purdy finishes as a top 8 QB in points per game from weeks he's returned. I guess the Spirits don't know when he's coming back, but when he comes back, he'll be top 8 in points per game for a quarterback. Trick.
I think they don't have the depth that they had the previous years for receiver. There's no Debo, there's no Ayuk. They're going to be a run-focused, defense-focused team trying to win 20-17.
Yeah, Purdy was pretty fascinating last year because he actually was like under the radar, really, really good. And obviously they were pretty hurt, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. He obviously had a couple of decent games. I don't know what he would pace at, but will be interesting to see because their offense seemingly moves the ball with Mac Jones, and we'll see what Purdy can do. All right, got a couple more here. This one is for Ryan. I don't know what happened to Ryan. Maybe he sneaked out of here. So this one says that Chase Brown finishes as a top 15 running back in points per game from weeks 9 on.
Sure. They don't want to run the ball. They can't run the ball. Their line stinks. Their defense stinks. They're going to be losing. Flacco's their quarterback. They're going to be throwing it everywhere. Even when they were in the game against the Steelers, I think he went off, but he had 2 30-yard plays, and he only got the ball like 13 times. So that's not a conducive environment for someone to finish as a top 15 running back in this NFL.
Look at Ned. I think I think between your photo in the guest spotlight and your overall sharpness with the facts here, I think I could have just lied and said that you worked for ESPN. All right, looks like our final prediction here, or our final message from the Beyond, says RJ Harvey will outscore J.K. Dobbins in fantasy points from weeks 9 through 17.
Yeah, if you're playing Madden, maybe. No, absolutely not. Like what? He scored 2 touchdowns on like 8 carries, and we're gonna be like, oh my god, he's amazing now. Like the dude gets the ball less than 10 times. Like unless Dobbins gets hurt, then no. Dobbins is their guy. Sean Payton wants to win now. Dobbins is a veteran. He trusts him. He's gonna keep giving him the ball.
Yeah, I agree. It's really could just be an injury thing, but maybe the pumpkin knows something. All right, Ned, that brings us through, or Dan, that brings us through Trick or Treat. We are now moving on to Booms and Busts. I think everybody knows how this one goes. I'll cue you up on the matchup where I can, but we'll go into your predictions for this week's matchup as well as our Booms and Busts for the week. So our first matchup here is Glenn versus Nick. Looks like I'll spoil it for everybody. Looks like you are taking Glenn. You have Tyrone Tracy as your bust, and you have James Cook as your boom. What you're thinking here?
Yeah, so I don't like Tyrone Tracy. I don't know what it is. Last year when he was I think he finished in the top 30 as a running back. He was either scoring touchdowns and scoring like 20 points, or he was again a guy scoring 3 or 4. They're playing against San Francisco at home. They're going to be losing that. They're not going to be in that game from start to finish. I can't imagine him getting more than 5 points. James Cook, he is one of the best running backs in the league, I think. They're going to feed him. They're going to be playing against Kansas City, who has one of the best pass defenses. They're going to get him involved both in the screen game and running the ball. I think James Cook has a big day.
Perfect. Yeah, he's been taking my Josh Allen points. All right, moving on to our next matchup. We've got Jesse versus Tyler. Tyler looking to bounce back after like 2 losses straight. It says on the screen, but I'm not going to look. But he lost to me last week. And then Jesse coming off a win and obviously a number of trades. So what do you got for this one? And I'll remind you if you don't remember.
Can you remind me?
Yes, you've got Tyler taking the W, and then both your boom and bust are on Jesse's side now. You've got Genty with a boom, and you've got Michael Pittman Jr. as a bust.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember. The screen's not going to do it. I'm going to do a flip-flop on the pick. I'm picking Jesse. I'll spend 2 seconds. I don't like what Ty did with that trade. I really don't. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Breece Hall, running back on the Jets, versus DeAndre Swift, who's on the Bears where they want to run the ball. They're in most of the games. You're trading for Brock Bowers, who's had an injury for most of the year. You already have Tyler Warren, and then you're shifting out. Who's the wide receiver? For Booty. You got Booty back. You can trade.
I'm not sure who went. I can't remember.
It was Jordan Addison, who scored.
Yes, yeah, Addison. Yeah.
He's gotten like over 60 yards in every single game that he's been back. And now they have their starter back from the beginning of the year, McCarthy. At 5-3, I understand trying to make a trade. I just think shifting your team like that is an idea.
Yeah.
I don't think that I would have done it at that point, and I don't think I would have done it for 2 tight ends in my lineup. That being said, boom, Genty, I think he's going to have a big week against Jacksonville. I don't trust the Jags. They can have whatever record they want to have. I just don't see them as a great team. I think that the Raiders are going to be in the game, and whenever the Raiders are in the game, that means Genty's going to get 15 to 20 touches, which means he's probably going to put up some decent yardage. Indy, this is more of like a historical fix than anything else. Did anyone see them going at Pittsburgh and putting up 20 points? 25 points? Do you see them going into Pittsburgh with those towels going and putting up those points? I don't. I see them going in there, laying down an egg. They're going to put up like 13 points.
I'll make a bold.
Daniel Jones going to have 3 turnovers. I don't like them.
I'll make a bold prediction, and I'm going to say that the Colts are going to roll the Steelers like 31-7. That's my prediction.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's the opposite.
All right.
1 to 2 defensive touchdowns for the Steelers.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I think we're all waiting for the Daniel Jones implosion, but I don't know, man. He looks like he's slinging the rock like he never has before. All right, we'll keep things rolling on to our next matchup. Looks like we've got Bill versus Brendan. You've got Bill taking the W with a CMC boom, and then you've got Brendan, unfortunately, taking another loss with a Stephon Diggs bust.
Yeah, again, this is a matchup where I don't understand the trade that either. Like that one makes a little sense to me to hold on to Bucky Irving for the last 5 or so weeks, and then the week before his bye, or week of his bye when he's coming back next week, ship him off for 2 players that Bill had no interest in playing. He was never going to play Aaron Jones Jr. unless he had to. And Khalil Shakir, he's your little slot guy. He's pouring in Julian Edelman in fantasy non-PPR. What are you going to do? You want to put in those 40 yards per receiver every week? I think so. I think that this is going to be a little bit of a steamroll. I don't see Brendan's team, looking at it right now, getting above 70.
Okay.
I don't think so.
All right. He's calling Brendan out as maybe a clown team score leader for week 9. He's going to be so mad at you. All right. Moving on to yourself versus...
I call it how I see him.
Moving on to yourself versus Evan. Now, you've got Evan. This is with the trade information. You've got Evan taking the W against yourself after you make a big trade to acquire Derrick Henry, JCM on the Commanders, and Brian Thomas Jr. Evan, not to be outdone, also with some massive roster changes throughout the week. So you've got, again, JCM, who you traded for, as your bust this week. And then you've got Jordan Addison, who Evan traded for as your boom this week. I will disclose that, Dan, you predicted these prior to this trade and then stuck to them. So you're sticking to your guns. What's your thinking behind this one?
I loved Evan's trades. I think that was at 2-6, making those kind of moves, getting DeAndre Swift, getting Kenneth Walker, getting Xavier Worthy, getting Addison. Like, that is, if you looked at his lineup before this game, he was projected to get 70, and it was hard to find a way for him to get. It was really tough to find a way for him to get to those points. I think he's got 2 good running backs now. Having Pollard going from his RB1, he was playing Pollard and RJ Harvey this week. And now Pollard is a maybe starter for those trades. So I think Addison at Detroit, I can picture them trying to take J. Jeff out of the game, high scoring game. I think that he's going to score at least 1 touchdown in the game. Bust. Merritt. Is Daniel back this week?
Daniel should be back this week, yes. No Terry McLaurin for the Commanders.
He might have a better game than I originally anticipated, but I don't think he's going to have a great game. When they're out of it, they just completely abandon the run. Why I didn't want him to be a part of the original package. I was trying to do something different on the back end, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I just don't see them consistently running the ball well, and I don't know if they really want to give him 15 to 20 touches. I don't know if they fear his injury history coming out of college, if they think that might be a factor.
How many points do the Patriots have to be winning by before you start actively rooting for Drake May to turn the ball over?
10,000.
Okay, so a lot. So you're Drake May MVP, full steam ahead.
If I lose because Drake May throws 4 touchdowns to Hunter Henry, that would be amazing because they would have beaten the Falcons at home. They'd be 7-2. The Bills might have lost to Kansas City. There's a 2-game lead for the division. Love it.
Okay, so he's ready to go. Ned is willing to sacrifice himself for the Patriots. Moving on to our second to last matchup, we have Jimmy versus Ryan. Jimmy looking to bounce back after he strategically kind of took a down week last week with some buys, even trading for Devontae Adams, who was on bye, to kind of maximize that. And then Ryan looking to bounce back. Ryan's kind of been an up and down year, injuries, but he's overcome a lot. You've got Jimmy taking the win here. You've got Chase Brown, who you talked about earlier, as a bust. And it looks like you've got Marvin Harrison Jr. going up against the Dallas Cowboys as your boom with the return of Kyler Murray. So what you're thinking here?
Yeah, I like Jimmy's team. I don't trust Ryan's receivers. I don't trust Jennings. I don't trust Dobes, however the heck you say his name. I know if it all had a good game. I don't know. There's a lot of question marks there besides JSN. JSN, I think, is legit wide receiver 1. Probably going to be the rest of the year. Like, he is the guy. That was a great pick by him. He was a year early last year, and he was right on point this year taking him.
Yeah.
Chase Brown, Chicago, I think, is a tough matchup. I think it's going to be one of those slogfests. I just don't see them being physical enough to keep up. And then Harrison, I like any receiver that plays the Cowboys. If you play the Cowboys, I like him because they can't guard anything.
Yeah, the Cowboys have definitely been a little bit of a funnel here for fantasy points. So it will be interesting to see how this one comes out. And we will move on to our last matchup. And not to be selfish, I am putting this as our matchup of the week. I do think it is the two teams with a winning record. There might be another one, but we've got myself at 6-2 going up against Steve at 5-3. You have Steve taking the W, which he is projected to do, but you've got Travis Hunter as a bust, which aligns with your trick-or-treat reading earlier, and you've got David Montgomery as a boom going up against those Minnesota Vikings, again, now led by J.J. McCarthy. So walk me through, again, you're thinking here, why are you siding with Steve on this one?
Yeah, first of all, it's kind of funny. I was just looking at this. Travis Hunter is listed in fantasy as a wide receiver. Like, who the heck's playing at quarterback? Like, that's
IDP.
Yeah, sure. I don't love Travis Hunter. I think he's a good player. Fine, whatever. I just don't see what everyone else may have seen going into the year, and I don't see it right now, especially. Like, I think he's a screen guy or a deep guy. Maybe he hits one, maybe he doesn't. I just don't think he's going to hit one. Monty, I think, is due for one of those classic David Montgomery games where it's like 13 carries, 60 yards, 2 touchdowns, maybe even a third, just because they get down to the 1-yard line. He is that guy. He does that to at least one person every single year. On your side, I would have given you advice 4 or 5 weeks ago. Had I wanted you to win this year or do more, I would have traded Quentin Johnson as soon as he came off that third straight 80-yard game. I would have traded him ASAP. I would have looked for whatever was out there and just shipped it away because you knew Ladd was coming eventually.
I'll speak to that directly, and you'll just laugh at this. I did deny a trade for Mike Evans for Quentin Johnson straight up. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Before Mike Evans got hurt, I was pretty mad at myself. I definitely have put a lot of faith in Quentin Johnston. Luckily, Terry re-injures himself, but he seemed good when he was out there, so hopefully that's not going to be a long-term thing. They just want to get him back for maybe a wild card push. Their record is abysmal.
But I feel you're running back for him.
Had I just kept, I've texted Bill about 7 times, I think, today.
Again, you didn't trade Jordan Mason either.
I knew, that's who I thought you were going to say.
One of those guys has to be moved.
That's who I thought you were going to say. Yeah, the Quentin Johnson one, I started buying it. He looked good. I was just like, this guy was a first-round pick. It's only year 3, second year with the new coordinator. I was in. So I did think to trade him, but I couldn't. And then Jordan Mason, he was definitely another one where, admittedly, I was high on Jordan Mason before the year. I thought that he could take over for Aaron Jones, and I didn't think that J.J. McCarthy would have this much trouble replacing Sam Darnold. So I was just like, they were really, really good last year. I was just like, I'll take the young guy, spelling Aaron Jones. So that's why I had a hard time trading him. Seeing now in the last couple of weeks, though, how he's done and how they've done. I'm not really worried about Jordan Mason. I think, there's some advanced analytics where, he's breaking tackles, he's forcing missed tackles. He's doing things that good running backs do. They are just not a great offensive line, nor a great offense. So we'll see.
Will they be winning? Will they be ahead?
I don't know. So yeah, definitely, we'll see how things go for me. No Saquon this week.
I think the determining factor. I'm picking speed, but if Josh Allen does what I think James Cook is going to do, if he takes those touchdowns, that matchup right there, you could not have a better quarterback fantasy matchup than Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen in the game and in the fantasy.
Yeah, seriously, I was gonna say, definitely gonna be a fun game to watch. All right, so that takes us through our booms and busts. We'll get you up on the prediction leaderboard after next week. And for our second bit here, we've got our 18-second, 6-player, anytime touchdown parlay. I'm going to, in about few seconds, I'll pass it over to you. You're just going to tell us who you got this week. If you want to explain, you can, but as a political correspondent who I cannot remember their name once said, if you're explaining, you're losing. So I will give you the floor to give us your 18-second, 6-player, anytime touchdown parlay now.
I'm just going to call this my due parlay. These are 6 people that are due after last week, and 1 person due from not scoring the entire year on the ground. So Jaylen Warren will score his first touchdown this week. Ferguson from the Cowboys will score a touchdown. Bijan Robinson will score against the Patriots. They can't guard running backs to save their freaking lives. James Cook will score. Christian McCaffrey, who had a bad week, will score. And then David Montgomery will come back and score at least 1 time.
All right, there you have it. You've got... I grabbed the wrong Warren, so that's my bad. We've got not Tyler Warren. We've got Jaylen Warren. We've got Jake Ferguson. I did think it was interesting you were starting with 2 tight ends. We've got Bijan, CMC, James Cook, and David Montgomery. No wide receivers in that group. We'll see how that works out for you. It could work really well. Perfect. So again, we will get that teed up. I'll probably post the odds once it's closer to Sunday. But that is our 18-second, 6-player, anytime touchdown parlay. All right.
The odds might not be that great, but there's a lot of pretty good players in there. So.
That's all right. Six players is still going to come out high. All right, Ned, that brings us to our final segment. Congratulations, you have made it through the pod. Now we head over to the catch-up. So for those who maybe haven't watched before, the catch-up is just our time to catch up with each other outside of fantasy football. What have you got going on with your life? What are you here to share today? Again, it could be exciting. It could be very mild. I'll pass it over to you.
So everyone knows I did get married in middle of September, but in reality, we actually got married December 23rd of last year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So this may be news for some folks. So we've been married for a little bit over 10 months. We needed to do it for some health insurance stuff. So we just went down to City Hall and married.
The elopement.
We haven't really shared that with a lot of people. So now y'all know. A couple people know. I think Brendan knows.
All right. Well, this is now public on YouTube, so available for discovery. Anyone can know. So that is the update. So yeah, big year for you. You got married. You got the house this year, right? Not last year.
No, we got last year, like August or September of last.
Oh, and you didn't even actually get married. You got nothing going on this year. What the hell, man?
No.
What the hell?
And then I'm moving into a consultant role in like the next 4 to 5 months.
All right.
There's that professionally. Like that's going well.
We'll take that. How is living with your other member of this beautiful family here that I'm looking at in this photo?
They're upstairs right now. I'm painting pumpkins with another 3-year-old, and I'm down here talking about fantasy football. So, going good. They're enjoying what they're doing. I'm enjoying this.
Now, is it true? Is your wife an Eagles fan?
She is an Eagles fan.
And
they're obnoxious Eagles fans.
They're both Eagles fans.
Yeah, and her dad is too, and they're all.
All right.
We got Grace a Eagles shirt for the Super Bowl last year, and it was I told her that when we have another one, they will be a Patriots fan. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I cannot. There's no. It's happening.
Alrighty, very cool. All right, fly Eagles fly. All right, Ned. Well, if you don't have anything else, that is all. Whoa, it's a fake microphone. That's all we've got. Thank you guys for watching. Write down in the comments whether or not you agree with our trick or treat predictions, whether you agree with our head-to-head, and how many legs does he get in his 6-player parlay. Shout out to you, Ned, our guest. Thank you for coming on. It is more work than people who have not done it might anticipate. Shout out to my producer who keeps things running smoothly. Shout out to our commissioner who is always inspiring the league. And obviously, shout out our champ. However well he's doing this year. Shout out to our current champ. So that ends the podcast. Week 9 in the books. We will see you all next week.